So I recently went through something I still can't quite believe. 3 men in black uniforms tried to evict us from a house we own. Not rent. Own, they didn't knock politely. They didn't even look uncertain. They just marched up the porch like they'd already claimed it. Their boots hit the steps in perfect rhythm, like a drill team rehearsed for intimidation. Navy blue uniforms, no logos, no names, only blank badges catching the glare of the sun. Clipboards tucked under their arms, gripped like they were shields or weapons. The one in front tapped his pen against the screen door once, a little too hard, a little too sharp, and asked me a question that felt like a trick. "Are you the property owner of this parcel?" "Parcel, not home, not house, parcel." I blinked at him, trying to make sense of it. "Sorry, do you mean my house?" He didn't answer, just adjusted his sunglasses, like my words weren't even worth acknowledging. The second man pulled a sheet from his clipboard and started reading. "You've been flagged for compliance review under Section 7B of the Neighborhood Security Act." "Neighborhood what?" He kept going. "Unauthorized fencing, non-standard yard fixtures, obstruction of easement, 30 days to correct or vacate." It sounded rehearsed, like a bad play read too many times. I shook my head. "We don't even have an HOA." "Not relevant," the third one said, voice low, almost like gravel. "Metork Preservation and Zoning Authority covers this block now." "Metork what? I'd never even heard of it." Something in my chest tightened. I told them they had the wrong house. We just moved in 2 weeks ago. My wife was out running errands. She'd be back any minute. I said it like a warning. Truth was, she was upstairs watching through the second-floor window. They didn't know that. The second man stepped forward, pulling a laminated card with a seal I didn't recognize. "We're authorized to mark the property today. You'll receive a compliance warning in the mail." I felt my pulse spike. "You can't just show up and start listing violations. Where's your paperwork?" The third guy lifted that card higher, cold and official, like he was presenting a warrant. "Consider this formal notice." And then she stepped out. Lily, my wife, jeans, boots, an old hoodie with the faded logo of her last Navy squadron on the sleeve. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "That's not a real agency." All three froze. The one with the clipboard recovered first. "Ma'am, this is a lawful assessment." "No," she cut in. Her boots hit the porch one at a time, calm, heavy. "It's a bluff. You're trespassing." "You need to calm down," the tall one said, shifting his stance. "You need to leave." No shouting, no shaking voice, just cold, steady truth. The men glanced at one another, unspoken words flying between them, and then, slowly, they backed down the steps. One muttered, "We'll be back with enforcement." Lily didn't move, she didn't flinch. She just stood there, eyes locked on them until they slid into a black SUV. No plates, no markings, and then they were gone. I finally exhaled, like I'd been holding my breath for 10 minutes. "Who are they?" I asked. "Scare tactic," Lily said, brushing dirt off her sleeve. Her tone was clipped, like she'd said the same words before. "I saw this overseas. They push until someone flinches." "They knew your name," I said. "They knew my name." "They're testing the perimeter." I stared at her. "That's not a normal sentence, Lily." "No," she said. "It's not a normal neighborhood." That night, sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the sunglasses, the clipped tone, the weight of a laminated card pressed like a blade against our front door. At 3:12 a.m., I got up and checked the windows. Porch lights still on, street empty. At 3:17, something changed. A white flag, no bigger than a pencil, was planted in our front lawn. It hadn't been there before. I stepped outside. The air was sharp, cold. The flag had numbers printed in faded ink, Zone 48, subject to removal. My throat tightened. I yanked it out of the soil and walked back inside, my hands trembling. Lily was waiting in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, eyes awake and unblinking. "I didn't hear you get up," I whispered. "I never went asleep," she said. The next morning, the mailbox flap was hanging open like someone had pried it loose with a knife. Junk mail scattered across the walkway, envelopes bent, catalog pages curling in the dew. I crouched, gathered them up, and saw the cameras blinking red. Offline. A little taped note stuck to the side of the box read, "Routine HOA maintenance." Except we didn't have an HOA. That's when the pattern started. Neighbors who used to wave stopped looking at me. One family across the street removed us from the block party email list without explanation. Another neighbor, too friendly, offered to buy our house for a fair cash price. No questions asked. I told myself it was nothing, coincidence, paranoia. But the way Lily's jaw tightened every time something happened told me otherwise. The lawn service we never ordered came back that day. They trimmed exactly 2 inches off the edge of the grass, left a $75 bill folded on the porch, and vanished before I even heard the mower start. I held the bill in my hand like evidence, shaking my head. "This isn't random, Lily. It's organized, like harassment." She didn't respond. She just opened her laptop, fingers moving with cold precision, typing like she was writing a mission report. That night, I double-locked the back gate, checked every window twice. But the truth is, for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure what these people wanted. Property? Power? Or just proof that we'd cave if they pushed hard enough. But one thing was clear. They thought I was the soft target. They thought Lily was gone. They thought wrong. The letter slid under our door the next evening. No envelope, just thick, watermarked paper that smelled faintly of toner and chlorine. Across the top, urgent compliance notice. I stared at it from the kitchen, half afraid to touch it like it might detonate. Lily leaned over my shoulder. She didn't blink. "Tactical escalation," she whispered. "They're testing procedural depth." 8 violations were listed, typed in stiff legalese that read more like a parody of law than actual law. Improper porch configuration, unauthorized solar lighting, non-standard mailbox curve. It felt like someone had asked a creative writing student to invent crimes out of suburban furniture. And at the bottom, bold and sharp, penalty $1,122, due in full within 14 calendar days. Failure to comply may result in legal review or enforcement action. I laughed too loudly, the sound echoing against the kitchen tiles. This has to be a joke. But Lily didn't laugh. It's not. I spent the next 2 days on the phone. City zoning, county clerks, municipal records, every department I could find. Each one gave me the same answer in different words. "Private jurisdiction, sir. Out of our hands." One clerk actually whispered, "They're slippery. Don't fight them on paper. They'll win." That's when the shame set in. I'd always been the guy who handled the research, the logistics, the fine print. The one who could untangle a mess with a laptop and persistence. And now I couldn't even get someone to tell me if my porch was legal. Meanwhile, Lily was mapping, literally. She spread satellite maps across the table, overlaid parcel codes, marked traffic patterns, and highlighted suspicious access points. "You're building a case file?" I muttered, half in disbelief. "No," she said, eyes locked on the map. "I'm building a strike profile." Her words chilled me more than the letter did. And then came Karen. She arrived with a lasagna, smiling too wide, stepping too close. "Hi there," she said sweetly. "I heard you got our little note." Lily stood beside me, arms folded across her chest. Karen leaned in just enough to invade our space. "It's nothing personal. We just have very precise expectations here." Her eyes lingered, unblinking, waiting for a crack in Lily's armor. Lily gave her nothing. Karen smiled again, this time sharper. "Hope you like zucchini." I took the lasagna. It felt warm, heavy, like a ticking clock. We didn't eat it, didn't even touch it. Lily wrapped it in a trash bag and shoved it into the freezer like it was hazardous material. Later that day, the sprinklers stopped working. When I checked the control box, wires had been cut. Clean, surgical cuts, like someone had opened it carefully, clipped the lines, and closed it again without hurry. The cameras went offline. Again, routine HOA maintenance, the notification read. The trash bins were shifted across the curb. The mail had been rifled through. But the worst part was what happened. It was how nobody seemed to notice or care. The neighbor across the street turned their back when I waved. Another casually handed me business cards for moving companies. Someone removed our son's name from the block party invite list without a word. Like we weren't just unwanted, like we were already erased. That night, lying in the dark, I whispered to myself, what if we've already been evicted and nobody told us yet? The thought burned through me, left me hollow. I didn't feel like a father or a homeowner. I felt irrelevant, replaceable. And then the garage door rattled open. Middle of the day, no one near the opener. I sprinted outside. The door was halfway up, shadows pooling underneath. Inside, a man I didn't recognize stood by the water heater, clipboard in hand. "Whoa, what are you doing?" I shouted. He turned casually, no urgency, no fear. "Routine inspection, safety check." "Of what? This isn't your property." He smiled. "Just making sure your systems are up to code. You'll get the report next week." Lily appeared behind me. The man stopped smiling. "Name?" she asked flatly. "Don't have to give it," he said. "It's all authorized under Section 5E. "There is no Section 5E, her voice was ice. "Leave now." He hesitated. For a second I thought he'd argue, but then he saw something in her eyes that made him think better of it. He walked out slowly, not rushed, not apologetic, like he owned the option to return whenever he wanted. That night I sat on the porch alone, staring at the streetlights that suddenly felt like watchtowers. And for the first time, I understood something. They weren't trying to take our house. They were trying to rewrite the story of who owned it. The next morning, a letter arrived by certified mail. The envelope was crisp, stamped, and so perfectly official-looking it almost fooled me. Notice of non-resident occupancy review. The document claimed we no longer lived at our own address, that our house was being reclassified. Before I even finished reading, movement outside caught my eye. A man was halfway into our backyard. Khaki pants, black boots, a belt lined with gear that didn't belong on a landscaper, clipboard in hand. He wasn't looking at the grass, he was mapping it. By the time I yanked open the sliding door and shouted, "Hey!" He'd already circled the shed, made notes on his clipboard, and snapped 2 pictures of the sprinkler valve. "What are you doing?" He turned slowly like a cop at a traffic stop. "Enforcement sweep, Section 5C. I clenched my fists. "We don't have an HOA. He smiled, unbothered. "Doesn't mean you're not under review." I took 2 steps forward, ready to grab him by the collar. But Lily appeared beside me, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. "You're trespassing." Her voice was flat, surgical. "Ma'am," he replied evenly, "you're in non-compliance with civic restoration zoning protocols." "That's not a real thing," she said. "Leave." His fingers twitched near the walkie clip to his belt. For a second I thought he'd call someone, but Lily stepped forward, stance squared, eyes locked on him. He hesitated, then left. Not running, not retreating, just walking away as if he'd return when it suited him. I shut the sliding door harder than I meant to, my pulse pounding so hard my jaw ached. Lily didn't say a word. She returned to the kitchen, opened her laptop, and began typing again. I snapped, "What even is this? Are they contractors, mercenaries, HOA cosplay commandos?" She didn't look up. Enforcers, private security, testing how far they can move without resistance. "You say that like it's normal." "It is," she said quietly, "just not here." I wanted to scream. Instead, I walked into the garage, slammed my fist into the drywall. The wall cracked. My hand didn't. When I came back inside, Lily was still typing, scrolling through parcel records and ownership reports like she had clearance I didn't know existed. "This isn't a base," I said bitterly. "It's our home." She closed her laptop slowly, her eyes finally meeting mine. "You think I don't know that?" Her voice was so sharp it cut through me. I regretted the tone instantly. "I just mean I don't know how to fight this. I write articles, I research. None of that works here." My voice cracked. "I don't work here." She looked at me for a long time, then said quietly, "You don't have to be the weapon, Tom. That's what I'm here for." I didn't know what to say to that. So I called Dan. Dan was the neighborhood's unofficial conspiracy theorist, cryptid enthusiast, and amateur drone pilot. The kind of guy everyone dismissed until you needed him. When he picked up, he didn't even say hello. He just said, "I've been waiting." "I need eyes," I told him. "Already airborne." 10 minutes later, Dan was camped on our roof with a thermos, a headset, and a monitor rigged to something that buzzed like a lawnmower full of bees. He narrated like a weatherman. Movement at quadrant 4, clipboard in hand, potential badge flash, repeat, sweeper confirmed. I didn't know half of what he meant, but I believed him. Then he froze. "Whoa, someone just scanned your garage with a LiDAR app." "What?" "LiDAR 3D surface mapping. They're building a profile." My stomach twisted. "That's tactical." "That's military," Dan corrected. That night dinner was silent. Our son was at a friend's house, thankfully. Lily had cooked, but neither of us ate. When I got up to clear the plates, I glanced out the window. My hands froze. One of them was back. Not in the yard this time, just standing on the sidewalk, staring at the house like it owed him something. He didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. I reached for the door. "Don't," Lily said sharply behind me. "I just want to ask." "Don't," she repeated. Her voice was so firm it pinned me in place. "They're looking for an emotional response. That's how they mark who breaks first." I turned, my voice rising. "Then what? We let them harass us until they're bored." "No," she walked past me, calm as ever. From the hall closet, she pulled down a black case I hadn't seen since the move. She placed it on the table and opened it. Inside, a tablet, a black binder, 2 burner phones, and laminated credentials with a government seal I didn't recognize. "What is this?" My voice was quieter than I wanted. "Tools," she said simply. "Authorization templates, contingency contacts, threat assessments." I looked at her like she was someone I didn't know. "How long have you had this?" "Since Bahrain." "And what does that mean?" She didn't hesitate. "It means I'm done waiting for them to escalate. It's our turn." For the first time, I wasn't scared of the men outside. I was scared of what she was about to do. The next time they came to our door, Lily didn't wait for them to knock twice. She opened it with a folder in her hand, her expression unreadable. The men froze. One of them even stepped back like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't hear what she said. Her voice was low, clipped, but it was enough to send them retreating faster than they'd arrived. I didn't even have time to ask before sparks lit up the garage. I was already at the breaker, flashlight in hand, when the panel popped so loud it rang in my ears. The flashlight slipped from my grip. I stumbled, hit the wall, landed hard enough to knock the wind out of me. The lights in the house had already been out. The silence was already thick, but this was intentional. Back inside, the house felt colder than it should have. Not freezing, just unnaturally cold. Staged, designed to unsettle. Lily had lit candles on the kitchen table. Not for light, not really, for control. "They've hijacked the box," she said calmly. "Power's being rerouted at the substation level." "That's illegal," I muttered. My voice sounded thin in the flicker of candlelight. "They don't care about legal," she said. "They care about control." The phone buzzed. A text, no number, no name, just 5 words. "Final compliance interview. 5:00 p.m. attendance mandatory." "Interview," I repeated, my throat tight. Lily didn't answer. She was already pulling out the black case. Binder, phones, credentials, all of it. She tapped something on the tablet until a green light blinked. "You're not even freaking out," I stammered. "You are," she said. And she wasn't wrong. I sank against the wall, my chest tight. "I can't do this, I'm not you. You're trained to stay calm while being shot at. I'm just me, a guy who Googles things, and you—" My voice cracked. "You've turned our house into a forward operations base." She stood slow, deliberate. "I'm not asking you to be me," she said. "I'm asking you to stay standing." The oven beeped suddenly. We both turned. Lily walked over, opened it, empty, hot. "They're playing with surge control," she muttered. My stomach twisted. How long until they send someone? At 4:59, the doorbell rang. 3 men stood outside, dark suits, tablets in hand, same blank stares. Lily opened the door before they could knock again. "No name badges?" she asked. "Not required," the lead one replied. His voice was trained, almost rehearsed. "We're here to review next steps." "Why not just admit it?" she asked. "Admit what?" he replied smoothly. "You're not here to talk. You're here to catalog fear, to see if we've broken yet." "We're here to offer resolution," he corrected. "No," she said firmly. "You're here because you haven't been stopped yet." The second man shifted. His fingers brushed a mic clip to his belt, recording. "You can record this," Lily said. "I'm not the one who will need to deny it later." They handed her an envelope. She didn't open it. "Why not take a look?" the lead one asked. "Because I already know what it says." "And what's that?" "That this house is no longer ours. That your zoning board has reassigned ownership pending our voluntary departure." He smiled thinly. "That's not the language." "No," she said, "it's just the meaning." A drone buzzed faintly overhead. I looked up. One of the men glanced at it, then away. "You're being watched," I told them. The lead one chuckled. "You think that intimidates us?" "No," Lily said. "I think it documents you." The silence that followed felt like pressure on my chest. "If you escalate," the lead one started. "I don't escalate," Lily cut in. "I neutralize." The second man flinched, just slightly, but enough. Lily turned her body so the porch light framed her silhouette. "Leave," she said coldly, "before I stop pretending this is civil." And they left, no threats, no rebuttals, just walked away. Inside the envelope was a copy of our deed. Entire sections redacted, whole paragraphs missing, at the bottom a QR code. Lily scanned it. A login portal appeared, Medorc Occupancy Transition Initiative. No access, clearance required. That night the power came back on, but the house didn't feel brighter. It felt infiltrated. Every flicker of a light, every hum of an outlet, every blink of the cameras. I didn't sleep, not because I was scared anymore, but because I was angry. This wasn't about law, it wasn't about compliance. It was about permission. And we were done asking. At 3:02 a.m. the cameras glitched once. When they came back on, the back door was ajar. In the crack of the door sat a business card, blank except for a phone number. Lily picked it up, her eyes unreadable. "They've made contact." She didn't say another word the rest of the night. Not when the door creaked open, not when it clicked shut again. Not even when I sat in the living room, gripping a crowbar like I'd ever used it for anything more than hanging drywall. She just stared at the candle on the table. The flame flickered, fighting to stay alive. And so did we. The candlelight carved shadows across Lily's face, sharper than I'd ever seen. Hours passed and she hadn't spoken. She just sat there, hands around a mug of tea she never drank, staring at the business card like it was an old scar. And then, without looking up, she whispered, "Do you want to know when I stopped asking for help?" Her voice was so quiet I almost thought I imagined it. I laughed nervously, trying to lighten the air. "At 4 in the morning? Sure, always love a pop quiz." She didn't smile. "Kandahar, winter of 2009. Her eyes didn't move, but her voice carried me somewhere else entirely. She told me about Forward Operating Base 7, a comm station, not a frontline. Just towers, screens, generators, and too many days of silence. 19 days into her 30-day rotation, she caught it. Signals bouncing wrong, not terrain interference, not static, human. She flagged it, wrote the report, carried it up the chain. "You know what they told me," she said, her jaw tightening. I didn't answer. "We don't deploy based on feelings, Lieutenant." So she waited 6 hours. And in those 6 hours, a 3-man recon team and their translator went dark. When they finally pulled survivors out, only one remained, an Afghan translator named Raza. 2 fingers gone, a collapsed lung, still bleeding. 2 days later, they brought him to her, because she'd filed the report, because she'd noticed. He could barely speak, Lily whispered. But when he did, he asked me one thing: didn't you hear us? Her voice cracked for the first time. That broke her, she said, not because she hadn't heard, but because the system chose not to believe her. Back in our kitchen, the tea had gone cold. She still hadn't taken a sip. You think that was the moment? I asked gently. The reason you stopped asking? No, she said. That was the moment I realized I'd never ask again. The silence between us was thick, too heavy, so I did what I always do when I'm drowning. I made a joke. You know, I said, the closest I've come to a tactical failure was leaving a waffle iron plugged in during a house showing. One eyebrow rose. Were lives lost? Just my dignity. For half a second, a smile flickered, then it was gone. She stood, walked to the junk drawer, and pulled it open. I expected batteries, birthday candles, the usual mess. Instead, she lifted out a small flash drive wrapped in a label that read, Cloud Cache, Dubai, do not wipe. Beneath it, another drive, plain, no markings, just a strip of blue tape with one word scrawled in Sharpie: backup. She held it like it weighed 10 pounds. I didn't keep this because I thought they'd come for me, she said softly. I kept it in case they ever showed up somewhere I cared about. That hit me harder than anything else she'd said all week. This wasn't just training or paranoia. This was love weaponized. She plugged the drive into her laptop. The screen blinked once, black, then green. A list of names scrolled fast, tagged with clearance codes, contract IDs, government project numbers. And then I saw it. Medorc Z58 Delta. Our neighborhood, our home. They gave it a project code, I said, my chest tightening. She scrolled further. A personnel list appeared. Contractors, liaison, logistics, surveillance, most flagged green, all except one. Whitaker Karen, status unconfirmed active. I pointed. Karen, the zucchini lasagna Karen. She changed her name, Lily said coldly. That's her married alias. I've seen her under 3 others. I sank back in my chair. You're telling me the head of our HOA is a ghost contractor with multiple aliases and clearance higher than you ever had? Lily didn't answer. She clicked the name. An email opened, just one line. If she ever reactivates, shut down the Glen. My stomach twisted. Wait, I said slowly. You think they're here because of you? Lily's eyes didn't leave the screen. No, she whispered. They're here because I was never supposed to leave. She clicked the attachment. A second file opened. Not a name. A photo. Our house. Dated 7 months before we ever moved in. My blood ran cold. The house had never been this quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Not Sunday morning quiet. This was the kind of quiet that felt staged, like the walls were holding their breath. I heard it first. The click of the gate latch outside. Not loud, not rushed, just casual, like the kind of person who opens things that are supposed to be locked. I pulled up the camera feed. Black screen, static, rebooting. Then the motion alerts hit all at once. Front yard, garage, hallway. No, I whispered, that's not possible. I stepped into the hall, heart hammering, just as Lily appeared from the other end. Barefoot, calm, holding a tablet she hadn't touched in months. They're here, she said. How many? 4, maybe 5. One's already on the roof. I froze. The roof. They want to come in clean. No broken glass, no alarms, just vanish us. And then tap, tap, tap. 3 soft knocks at the back door. I jumped. Lily didn't flinch. She turned off the hallway light. We have 60 seconds. To do what? To vanish. She opened the hall closet, not coats this time, but gear, signal disruptors, burner phones, a go bag with cash, not digital, old bills. You packed a go bag? I whispered, stunned. I packed 4. Of course she did. I grabbed my phone. No bars, no Wi-Fi. The carrier icon didn't even show, just blank. Panic flared in my chest. Where's our son? Safe, she said. He's not coming home tonight. How? I arranged it 3 days ago. Another knock, softer, almost polite, and then a voice. Commander Tran, time to come home. My skin went cold. They know your name, I whispered. She opened a drawer, pulled out a flash drive. Her hand didn't shake, her voice didn't rise. No, she said, they know one of them. We moved upstairs. Every step felt like thunder. I pulled the blinds, grabbed the crowbar I kept as a joke, and then realized it might not be a joke anymore. That's when the sound came, the back door unlocking. No beep, no chime, just the slow mechanical twist of a key that should never have existed. I grabbed Lily's hand. Whatever happens, don't go alone. But she was already gone. I watched from the attic vent as she walked into the moonlight, barefoot, calm, like a surgeon walking into triage. 4 of them, black jackets, flat expressions, earpieces that no longer worked because Lily had already fried them. You need to come with us, the lead one said. Who issued the summons? Lily asked. Whisper OPL, secondary clearance post Dubai. Wrong code, she replied. He blinked, recovered. This isn't optional. I know, she said. That's why I'm not declining. They thought that meant surrender. Until she dropped something small into the dirt and whispered one word. Oops. Flash, a hiss of static ripped through the night. Radios fried, tablets dead. The man closest to her lunged. She moved faster, precise. One twist, one knee, and he was on the ground, gasping. Another circled. She kicked his leg out, snatched his comm, crushed it under her heel. The third hesitated. Bad mistake. She stepped into his space, eyes sharp. Tell Karen it failed again. He ran. By the time I scrambled downstairs, crowbar in hand, the driveway was empty. Lily stood in the middle of it, barefoot, blood dripping from a cut on her knuckle. Holy, I started. That, she said calmly, was just the opening act. Then she handed me a file. One of theirs. Blueprints, not of our house, of the entire development, every house tagged, every family classified. Ours was labeled Primary Asset Recovery. And beneath it, one more foe. Grainy cropped. Lily standing in front of our house. 2 years before we ever moved in. Same jacket, same scar, same stance. Her face went pale. She whispered, I've never seen this photo before. I stared at her, throat dry. Lily, were you ever supposed to leave Dubai? She didn't answer me. Not right away. She just whispered, I don't think I ever did. The house was too quiet again. Not danger quiet this time, grief quiet. The kind that doesn't cry, the kind that just sits and stares too long at the walls. Lily hadn't said a word since she saw the photo. Her standing in front of our house 2 years before we ever moved in. Same jacket, same scar, same eyes, but vacant, like a photograph of a ghost. She held it in her hand like maybe it would start talking. Like if she stared hard enough, the answers would blink back. Then she whispered something I almost didn't catch. I used to dream about this place. I sat up straighter, the house. She nodded slowly. The porch, the hallway shadows, the smell of the air, always the same. I thought my brain was playing tricks. I didn't know it was real until we moved here. I tried to laugh, but it came out cracked. So what, premonitions, Zillow in your sleep? But she didn't smile. She slid the photo under her notebook, pulled out the flash drive labeled backup, and slotted it into the laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. I'm going to try my name. She typed Lily. The screen blinked, access granted. My chest locked. The laptop hummed, black screen, then a video feed loaded. A white room, a table, restraints. Not pulled tight, just enough to remind you they could be. And Lily younger sitting in the chair, blank. A man in uniform leaned forward. Contractor, not military, he spoke. You chose this neighborhood. You authorized the emotional tether. Once the overlay holds, you won't remember any of this. The video glitched, froze on her face. Lily slammed the laptop shut, her hands trembling for the first time. I don't remember that, she whispered. Deep fake, I said quickly, desperate. Has to be. No, she replied, her voice cracked on the word. That's the watch I lost in Bahrain. That's the jacket they burned. I started packing, my mind a storm. Okay, how did we meet? You tell me this time. She closed her eyes. Training seminar, San Diego, someone joked about the air conditioning. That's not what I remember. She opened her eyes. Exactly. The air drained from my lungs. You think, my voice faltered, you think we were placed together. No, she said, her tone like glass breaking. I think we were designed together. I dropped into a chair, my body felt unplugged. No, Lily, I remember everything, your laugh, Spain, the midnight nachos, that's real. They could have been implanted, she whispered, overwritten. You're not a robot, I snapped. You're my wife. She turned, her face soft, broken. What if I'm both? The room tilted. My chest felt like stone. That night a package arrived. No label, no delivery truck, just there. Inside, a single printed sheet. Unit instability confirmed. Environmental rollback scheduled. Report or be extracted. What does that mean? I asked, my voice thin. Her eyes darkened. It means they're going to erase the Glen, not just us, everyone. She pulled up a secure browser, typed a string of code like second nature. A map loaded. Our neighborhood wasn't homes. It was zones, tags, surveillance intensity, emotional anchor nodes. Her name flashed at the top. Lily TR, primary origin loop. My knees went weak. Origin loop, what does that make me? Her lips trembled as she whispered, Support unit, secondary, that's you, Tom. I staggered back like she'd struck me. You're saying I was built to support you, that I'm not even. She cut me off, her voice low, cracking. No, you're the only part they couldn't control. That's what made you real. Before I could answer, an audio file auto-launched. No video, just a voice. Lily, you've been triggered again. You asked us to build this. You needed it. If you ever remembered, we'd know what to do. It's okay. Just breathe. The voice was soft, too familiar. Is that you? I whispered. Her face went pale. She shook her head. No. The recording continued. Tom will try to intervene. He won't understand. That's okay, too. You made this choice. Now it's time to come home. The voice cut. I snapped. Tell me right now if this is real, because I'm losing it. I don't care if this was a dream or a mission or a simulation. I just need to know, did you choose me? Her silence crushed me. And then finally, she whispered the one thing I couldn't bear. I don't know. The words hit harder than any threat outside our door. We sat in silence, both of us breaking in different ways. And then her laptop flickered again. Another file, blueprints, our house, with notes scrawled in a language half technical, half clinical. Phase 3 testing, emotional anchor saturation begins 2021. If loop breaks, eliminate support units. Do not allow subject to self-terminate or leave sector. I whispered, support units, that's me. Her face was pale, hollow. They were never afraid I'd remember. They were afraid I'd choose not to forget. The screen flickered one last time. Coordinates appeared, Utah, the word reentry in bold. And beneath it, agent inbound, arrival 400 hours. The clock read 3:57. We didn't have long. The clock read 4:04 a.m. And then it came. The knock. Not pounding, not aggressive, just a deliberate tap of knuckles on wood, like someone knocking on their own front door. Lily was already dressed. Boots, jacket, The wristwatch she hadn't worn in years, the one they told her was destroyed in a base fire. I swallowed hard. Are you ready? She didn't answer, she just whispered, if they take me, don't follow. I won't let them, I said, my fists clenched so tight my nails bit skin. She finally looked at me, her eyes softer than they'd been in days. You can't stop them, Tom. Then let me go with you. She shook her head slowly. You weren't part of this, not at the start. That's what made you real. My chest burned, my throat closed. At 4:05, the power shut off. Silently, the cameras died, the backup system, the satellite phone, all gone. We stood in the hallway, no light, no escape, just each other. She squeezed my hand once, hard, then let go. The door opened by itself. No creak, no wind, just wide open. And a silhouette stepped inside. A woman, dark blazer, clipboard, calm as a surgeon. Her voice was smooth, precise. Agent Tran, you are 2 years past retrieval. Deviation has exceeded threshold. Sector is being restructured. Please comply. Lily stepped forward. I stepped with her. The woman raised a hand toward me. Support units will be reassigned upon erasure. This will not hurt. The word erasure hit me like ice. Lily's jaw tightened. I remember now. The agent didn't blink. That is not your function. Lily smiled, not the cold military smile I'd seen her wear before, something else. Defiance, humanity. I know, she said softly. That's why I'm staying. The agent studied her for a long moment, then nodded, just nodded. Very well. She pulled out a pen, marked something on her clipboard, and walked away. Just like that, no force, no retrieval, no reset. Gone. I stared at Lily, my chest heaving like I'd just run 10 miles. You did it. Her breath hitched, her lips trembled, and for the first time, tears filled her eyes. You kept me real, she whispered. 3 days later, the Glen was quiet. The flags were gone, the fines vanished. The website for the so-called Medorc Authority was wiped, our deed reverted. Like it had all been a fever dream. But Lily didn't forget, she couldn't. Because forgetting was never part of the deal again. She wasn't the prototype anymore, she wasn't the asset. She was the survivor. And she stayed. Not because she had to. Because she finally chose to. And me. I stopped asking if she remembered everything. Because sometimes when we walk the neighborhood together, she'll pause, tilt her head. And she'll whisper, this wasn't here before. The sidewalk, I'll ask. No, she'll reply quietly, them. Then she'll keep walking. And I'll follow. Because I don't need to understand everything anymore. I just need to remember who chose to stay. You've heard this confession, now wait until you hear the next one. The truth that shatters everything you thought you knew.